Well, hello and welcome to the Wednesday Word. This is the Desert Spring Church podcast coming to you from Desert Spring United Methodist Church in Las Vegas, Nevada. My name is Julie Hart and I'm the host, and I serve here on staff as the Director of Connectional Ministries. I'm super excited. This is week 2 of the month of love. We actually started a little bit early because love. But I have such a wonderful couple here. I can't wait for them to introduce themselves to you and for you to hear their story and for me to get to learn more about their story. So without further ado, let's just jump right in. We have the Henrys here. And Dorothy, go ahead and introduce yourself and tell us about yourself and maybe a little bit about your history here at Desert Spring Church.
Well, I'm Dorothy Henry, born in Louisiana. We moved here 6.5 years ago to be with the youngest grandchildren. This is after a stay in Houston. We decided to relocate here, and we started looking for a church home. And we found Desert Springs and the people here at this church welcoming and just a wonderful place to be. So we decided to join and become active members of Desert Springs United Methodist Church.
I love that. So only 6.5 years. Okay.
6.5.
Okay. I wasn't sure because, as you know, for many years I served as youth director. So I lived on the other side of the campus. There's lots of people I didn't know very well. So I wasn't sure how long you'd been here. That's great to know. And your fabulous husband here.
I'm Willie Henry, and I'm a retired Methodist minister, and I'm also a retired Army chaplain. So, and the rest of it, what she said, there go.
Yeah, I knew that because I remember we were in a meeting many years ago, and you had shared that. So that much I did know about your story, and so I'm excited to dig into that and to see how that has shown up in your life and your life as a couple. So first of all, how many years have the two of you been married?
57 years. We've been knowing each other for 60 years.
You've been for 60 years you've been in each other's lives, and it's 57 years married. Yes. Wow. So that's amazing because tomorrow I turn 55. So you've been married longer than I've been alive. Feels like a real long time.
Yeah.
But wow, that is just remarkable. And congratulations, because that's a big accomplishment. I'm sure it's been without any bumps or struggles along the way, right?
We had struggles along the way because we moved about with his military career, and when we met in college, we decided that we would go into the ministry. Well, this was after a stint with teaching for him, and then things just kind of changed and morphed from that.
And so you said you met in college. And so this is a real big, everyone go to college because Scobies were they were last week, and they also met in college. So I'm thinking there might be something into this, listeners. So tell me about, where did you go to college?
We went to college at the Grambling State University, and that's where we met. One play night. At that time, girls couldn't be out at night. They had to just a certain time they could be in it. And that was on a Thursday night, and we met there. And I met about 2 or 3 more times after that night. And the second time I saw her, and I couldn't remember. I think that's that girl.
You better remember.
I wasn't sure because it was that night. And then finally, we started seeing each other. And I had a call into the ministry before then, but I didn't pay any attention. And one day we were walking across the meadows, and I told her, "How'd you like to be married to a preacher?" And she said, "Ooh, no, I don't want to be married to a preacher."
I know. I've always said the only thing harder than being a pastor is a pastor's wife. So, I've always said that.
So we walked along for a few minutes later, and then she said, if you was a minister, I wouldn't mind it, So I felt bad. So, I'm not going to be no minister, because I was kind of, outgoing fella, So
that does not surprise me. So how long had you been seeing each other when you asked her this question?
We had been seeing each other probably about maybe a month and a half, a close to 2 months.
Pretty quick to be asking life questions. Oh, so it was after the third. So you tell me, did you remember, Willie, the second time you saw him?
No, not really, but he was friends with one of my homeboys, as we called them back in college, where I lived in Mansfield, Louisiana, and I didn't remember him because I was so young and not abreast of being out because I left home at a young age, and so I was not too interested in dating or meeting anybody at the time. So I didn't remember him. I didn't pay too much attention to him.
And so how old were you both at this time?
Oh, I was 16 when I, went to college.
Wow.
So it was a little different for me because I led a sheltered life. My mom and them always just kind of gathered around me and protected me. So here I was leaving home, and then I meet this outgoing young man. So no, I really didn't remember him because he was so outgoing. And me being such an introvert, I didn't know how I would get along with an extrovert.
Yeah. Wow. That's amazing. Yeah, 16 is pretty young. So, wow, you found the love of your life at the age of 16.
I sure did.
Wow. That is amazing. So, so you knew kind of it was serious if you're asking her, you pop the would you be a pastor's wife question. You're pretty early on. So how long did you all date before you became engaged?
Maybe 2 years, maybe. I remember the one night we were sitting at the little place where the students go in, at a cafe and we were sitting there, and I had a ring. I think I had sneaked the ring to her, and I placed it on a thing. This was about 2 years, and I think this was after I had gotten my orders from the president for going into the army because I was going to Vietnam, and I got drafted, and I was there for 2 years. So that delayed us from getting married, and so we sit in the booth and married each other before I left. And so.
Wow. So let's unpack that for a minute. So where were you both going to school to study, first of all?
I was going to be a teacher because back in the time, that's what we could do as my race, blacks, and my parents, my mother and all my aunts had been teachers. So I knew when I left to go to college, I was going into education. So that's what my leading was. That's what I knew I was going to do.
Not so many options as a woman and as a black woman, for sure. Right,
exactly.
So, yeah, okay. And Willie, what were you going to school
That's the same thing. My parents had always wanted me to be a teacher. They would always say, you could be a professor, So,
can see that.
But that wasn't really me,
Mm-hmm.
And I went in the classroom and stayed for maybe a year and a half. I taught school in junior high. I taught this 8th, 9th, and 10th grade sociology.
Cool. Yeah. Cool. That's awesome. So just for the timeline, you get the orders when you're already teaching. You're still in college at this time when you get drafted.
No, I had completed that same year. I completed college in January. And as soon as I completed college, they sent a letter for Vietnam. At the time, it was a big draft going on.
Yes, yeah, right. And if you were in college, you really weren't drafted.
You weren't drafted, but after graduated, they sent me a letter right away.
You're on the list immediately. Yeah. Oh, my gosh. So here's the love you've met. And that's so terrifying. That's what a scary time that was. What a difficult time. And so how did you let Dorothy know what about this letter? Do you remember that conversation?
Yeah, I told her, but see, at the time, so many guys was getting married to stay away because at first in going to Vietnam, if you was married, you didn't have to go to the war.
Oh, in the beginning.
Yeah, in the beginning.
That changed,
But then that changed because so many guys started getting married, and so many guys started going to seminary too, to avoid going to the military.
Yeah.
At the time, I was not aware, but I went to airborne school because I wanted to help her in college at the time, and I knew I would get an extra $65 a month for her. So I was airborne with the 101st Airborne, and the night we was going to Vietnam, well, I was sitting there and I looked and I thought about it. I said, wow, uh, a lot of us not coming back. And so I said to myself, Lord, if you let me go in and come back, I'll go into the ministry. But I was kind of trying to fool him,
And God is super easy to fool,
yeah,
right?
yeah. So, and the 101st got eagles on their wing, and all the eagles stood off like this, looked like to me. They were jumping off these boys' shoulders. And so we was flying on I forget the number of that plane, but it was one of those long, narrow plane. I forget the number, which airline that was. And when I said that, everything got calm to me, and so we went on to Vietnam, and I found out when I got to Vietnam, well, see, I was a dough gunner on a helicopter, but after about 2-3 weeks being there, they found out that I had a college degree, and so they, Sergeant Wood, I can remember his name, he said, Henry, you graduated from college, huh? I said, yeah. So, and I was in there arguing about my pay, because I had been getting partial paid and I hadn't got a full pay. So finally, I said he would come and he said he'll send for you. And sure enough, he did. About 2 weeks later, he sent for me, so I didn't have to go. And so that's when I told her, "Hey, it look like I'll be back home because I'm not going to be in the field."
Wow. Okay, so but you got married before you left.
No.
Still no.
It was a promise of
A promise.
It was a promise of marriage.
Okay.
And it all ended in such a strange way, because when he was over there, I was also pledging sorority, and I was doing student teaching. When you pledge sororities, you're not allowed to write anybody but your parent. So I wrote my mother, and it didn't write him. And so that upset him, and I know that was a bad feeling for him, not knowing what was going on with me.
Wow.
Because he went to Vietnam and stayed over there, and I was in the midst. I was pledging, and then did student teaching, and it's just some strange things happened. That's why we always know God put us together.
Wow. So you're just like not knowing what's going on back home. I
was angry with her. And
Yeah.
I kept telling her, see, because I would have broke the rule. She's a rule provider.
I'm with you, Dorothy. I'm a rule follower too. It's
Yeah.
such a burden, isn't it?
So
You thought you were engaged to a rebel, but
yeah. So I told her I said, you can sneak and write, And so she got upset. And so she's going to send the ring that I had left with her engagement ring.
Oh, because okay, wow.
And the lady she was living with at the time doing the student teaching, she had been mailing her letter all the time, but this time she forgot to mail a letter. If she had gotten the letter and mailed it, she'd have sent me my ring, and I would have stopped in Los Angeles coming back with my brother living out there in Los Angeles. And we wouldn't have saw
So
each
the
other.
letter never got sent.
It never got mailed.
Did she forget, or was she just thinking, "Oh, this is a mistake"?
She said she actually forgot.
Okay.
Yeah, she forgot.
Oh wow, God's got a sense of humor.
He sure has, especially with the two of us.
So you never get the ring back. So the ring is gone.
So she's kept the ring. Tell her what happened when
The
you
letter,
got the ring.
when I returned from
ring?
doing student teaching, because I had to walk to school, and when I got back, the letter was on the table. She had forgotten to mail it, and it was not so long. I think I took it back, and then it was not. I can't remember how many weeks after he made it back, and he came to the place where I was living.
Mm-hmm. Not knowing that you'd already sent the Dear John,
Yeah,
but he didn't get it.
that.
Okay,
Didn't
but
get
you're
it.
still a little
didn't.
bit cranky about the fact that she hasn't written. So what's that like when you come back to see her?
Well, when I got back, I sneaked in the house, and and she was at school, and I was sitting on the couch.
You got some explaining to do.
Yeah, I was sitting there on the couch when she came in, and Miss what's that lady's name?
Miss Shine.
Miss Shine. Mrs. Shine. She didn't tell her that I was in there, so she just told her daughter, "Come on in." So she came in, and when she came through the door, I was sitting on the couch, and she screamed.
Was it a good scream or?
It was a good scream.
Scream.
Oh,
It was a great scream.
Oh, so then you knew all was forgiven, all was forgotten. You know, like, oh, she loves me.
Yeah.
Wow. Wow.
Yes.
Okay. Okay. So then where do we pick up? What happens now?
Then we came back, and I told her that we was going to get married soon. And so we went to the same little town. We went and got the marriage license. Then you had to have your marriage license 3 days before you can get married.
Mm-hmm.
And so we went down to the courthouse in this little town and got the license, because her folks didn't want me to marry her at first. And so we was going to elope, we was going to run away.
She's shaking her head.
That's true.
She came up in the upper class, and I didn't. I was ground root, very poor.
Okay.
And so we went out and got the license, and so I told her what to do. And so some kind of way I had her suitcase in my car, because I bought a car as soon as I got back from Vietnam. And her mother and her was coming to pick up the suitcase at the bus station. And
I had
so-
graduated then.
and I saw them coming. And my brother was with me. And so I said, here they come, her mother with her. So we took off, and they came running behind the car. She was running, waving, trying to stop me. And so I stopped, and then her mother came. And she said, "Where?" They said, "I know what y'all going to do." Said, I prefer that you all don't do that you all get married. Said, "I know Reverend Wanza, and he can marry you all now." So we went over to Reverend Wanza's house. That was her aunt's husband. And so I had the license. I already had the license because he was in the car.
The license, the suitcase, you were making a run for it.
Yeah. So we went into the house, and as we was sitting in the house there and getting married and everything, Reverend Wanza put on his clergy clothes and got us ready, and we got married.
So-
and we had to kind of tell a little fib on the license, because we had got the license the day before, but you got to have your license 3 days in Louisiana.
Okay, so
we had
we
to backdate
we
the
had
license.
and she broke that rule though.
Yeah,
Okay,
yeah.
all right.
Yes,
She's
I sure
got a
did.
little rebel inside of her. So your mom is basically like, look, this is not what I had planned. This is not my idea, but I know you're going to go ahead with this anyway and run off and elope. So instead of that,
That's
come
what
be-
she did. And she did tell us, she did tell us together, she said the Lord had almost shown her that he was for me, because my mom brought us up because my dad died in 1950, when I was 4 years old. So she kind of, with all the ancestors, kind of coddled us. And she said the Lord had shown her. And that was why she was so willing for Willie and I to get married. And that's why she did what she did.
Oh, it's beautiful. And this is what year? I could backdate.
This is 67.
In 1967. And how old are you both at this time?
I turned 77 December.
No, she
So
at
when you
that
got
time-
married,
at
how
that
old were
time.
you when you got married?
18.
She was
18 now?
Yeah, she was 19.
19?
Because it was 3 years after I met her.
And how old
yeah.
were you?
At the time, I was 24.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right.
Yeah, because I'm 6 years old, almost 6
The children
years old.
tease him about saying he robbed the cradle.
I bet.
Our children tease him.
I bet so. But, boys and girls mature differently. So it probably evened out okay, right?
Yes.
So what were your early years like of marriage?
Oh, at first it was very hard. She was teaching school, but at the time, her check was
$291.
For how long?
That was for my first year of teaching. And
Each
that
month.
was for
$291 a month?
a month.
and I was still in the military
We was
as
still-
enlistment, E4, and they tried to get me to stay in the military and make me E5 sergeant. So I said no, and I got out and I started serving teaching, and after serving, well, I was going over to Centenary College in Shreveport, and one of the professors wanted me to go to Perkins at SMU,
Yeah.
and I said okay. But then later, Reverend Norris saw me and he said, "You need to come to ITC to Atlanta." So I changed and went to Atlanta.
Oh, wow.
Yeah,
Okay.
and went to ITC, International Theological Seminary.
Okay.
And when I got there, we went that summer, and I liked it the summer because we had $700 worth of debt per month. That was a lot of money. Yeah.
Yeah.
And so that summer, when we was in Atlanta, and I got to liking it, and I said, you know what? Because I had a job to teach, and I said, I'm going to drop out. I'm going to continue to go to seminary. And she said, well, how are we going to pay our debt?
She's like, oh, man, Mom was right.
Yeah. I said, I get a job and go to school too. And so we did that. She was in Shreveport working, and I was in Atlanta going to school.
Wow.
And
this
I was working.
early on in
took
your
care of
marriage.
the house, yes.
And during this time, she came
Gosh.
up pregnant with our first child.
Mm-hmm.
So that was a good way for her
Who's older
to
than-
get out and come to Atlanta. And we was in Atlanta, and while we were there, she got her master's degree in Atlanta.
Wow. Good for you.
And that way she could go back to her work, and she got off, and she took all the time that she could take away for her pregnancy. And while we were there, that's when she got her degree. And so I was working 2 jobs and going to school
Wow.
Right.
because she wasn't working.
And now you're a new mom and getting your master's, such hard work.
Hard work.
Exhausting. It's, yeah.
Yes.
Wow. Wow.
And my mother helped me with the tuition for the first quarter. And then, because she had found out now that he's going to be okay.
He's all
So
right.
yeah.
He's
so
all
she
right.
helped with the first semester of grad school. And then the rest of the time, we were able to pay because when we was working all those jobs, we started making more money than we had made,
Yeah.
before.
Because
Yeah.
at the time I started getting my GI Bill,
Mm-hmm.
and I was
Right.
working at the bus station, and I was also put in security guard.
Wow.
But later on, I went on and got a job for recreation. Then I didn't have one job after Atlanta Department of Recreation.
Really?
Yeah.
Really?
And so I started there, and I could afford to just have one job.
Yeah.
And so, but when we came back, and I was pastoring small church,
In what denomination?
United Methodist, and they couldn't pay very much. It was 2 of them, and so the family was getting bigger. My third daughter was born because the other one was born while I was in seminary. The third daughter was born while we were there, and so we would buy one chicken. A chicken, you can get a whole chicken in for $1.25,
Wow.
But I would cut that chicken up into
Oh,
pieces, and we would put in bread bags, light bread bags. We'd put the meals in the bag. That's one piece of
Portion
chicken
it
a
out.
piece. Yeah, and we could eat off by 3 times off of chicken. One
Wow.
chicken. Hmm. And so that's the kind of
Wow.
way we made it through that.
Gosh. Wow.
And then at the time they was needing black officers in the military.
Yeah.
I had to leave the church. I hated to leave the churches, and I told him I would do that. I would do it in June because I want to complete it.
Yeah. Your appointment.
Yeah, but and he told me okay. But then the next day he called me back. He said, "Willie, we need you now." And so I said, "Now?" And I had been trying to get the people to build a educational wing onto the church, And finally, they decided that they would do that. And one morning, I heard them out there nailing sticks in the ground, to let you know for the check. And as I was watching them out there, and I went back and told her, I said, honey, they putting stakes out for the wing of the church. And how we going to tell these people we leaving? We hadn't told them.
Gosh.
Could I interrupt you a minute?
Yeah, go ahead.
And in the meantime, they had also gotten me a job in the little town where he was pastoring.
Yeah.
And so we had to decide then when we were going to tell them that we were leaving.
And they're your family. They become your family, your church.
Yeah.
Yes.
Oh, gosh. Okay.
A lot of things pastors say up there on Sunday morning, we can identify with it right away.
I bet you do.
Yeah.
I bet you do.
We do.
Yeah.
And back in the time, the parsonage was right by next door to the church.
Yeah.
So on occasion, we had young children, and sometimes at early morning before we would have gotten up, they would be knocking on the door and want to talk to him. So it was an interesting experience. And then we had gotten close to them, and then we said, well, how are we going to tell them? And they starting to build this wing. They've gotten me a job.
Oh, gosh.
And so,
gosh.
So then we had to go to New York for school,
chaplain
school. And we left and went to New York and had the interviews and things like that. And then we came back, and she went to stay with your mom. Did you go stay with your mom then?
Yeah, and then we started building.
Then you
yes,
started
stay with
teaching,
my mom, but I would drive from, because I didn't want to work in a place where my mom was. I wanted to get in the largest city, so I would stay in Mansfield and would drive like 40 miles to go to my job until we got a house built.
Wow.
And when I graduated from chaplain school, then we got stationed at Fort Riley, Kansas. And
Kansas?
Kansas.
Fort Riley.
Oh.
And so we that's when she quit her job, because my Sarah was enough to take care of the family then.
And so now you're a mom of 3 kids. You have a master's degree. Mm-hmm. So, and now your kids are getting to at this time, what ages are they about?
The youngest one was about 3,
okay.
And the oldest one was maybe 7 or 8.
Okay.
7.
So you got your hands full.
Yes. Yes.
And are all 3 girls, did you say?
3 girls.
So you really got your hands full.
The boy was not born.
Okay.
Yet.
Okay. So now that's it. You can support her. You've got one job.
Yeah, got one job. And she started teaching school at Fort Riley.
Mm-hmm.
The Dodds, yeah.
The kids, she had one kid that was so
she's still shaking her head.
that she started crying because she didn't want to be a failure, And so they called me, and I went up there, and she was crying because she was still young. And, so I told her, honey, you're gonna do well. You're gonna do well. So anyway, she started doing much better, working with the kids, and so that's what her job was there at Fort Riley until we got orders to go to Hawaii.
Hawaii, rough life. We have another pastor couple here from Hawaii, right? You probably met the Eldersons, yeah.
That's where the son was born, in Hawaii.
So your son was born in Hawaii.
And I didn't do anything, but I did volunteer work for the schools, because back in the time we were in Hawaii, they had mostly it was run by the Japanese system. So you would, so I just did volunteer work. But we didn't lack anything. The children made friends, and life was good.
Life was good in Hawaii. How long were you in Hawaii?
3.5 years.
Okay. Boy, this is not very long anywhere. I mean, that's especially how it was then, right? Yes. Gosh, you just pack up your stuff again and
pack it up,
keep moving. Mm-hmm. How many appointments did you all have in the time that you served? How many churches did you serve?
Churches, I served 7 churches, but in the military, I served in Fort Riley. From Fort Riley to we're from New York to Fort Riley, Kansas. From Fort Riley, Kansas to Hawaii. From Hawaii back to Louisiana, and at Fort Polk. From Fort Polk, I went back to Atlanta to get a doctor's degree in marriage and family. And so
I did not know that.
Yeah.
Oh.
Marriage and family. And so
wow.
from there, I went to Europe. And that's where everything starts moving out. She got a job in Europe, and we was on a high hog then.
Living on the high hog.
Yes,
we were not portioning chicken into little bread bags anymore. Is that what you
We could
mean?
eat a whole chicken. One of us could eat a whole chicken.
Y'all get your own chicken tonight.
Get the big piece of chicken. I ain't had to wait and get the big piece of chicken.
That is amazing. What was it like serving as a chaplain in the military? That's a real different
That was one of the
kind
best
of
ministers I had.
Oh man,
I did a whole lot. So every month I would take the soldiers to a country in Europe. Every month we had a new country to go to. I would take a bus, get a bus, rent a charter bus, and then also the train. We went all over. At that time, Berlin was separate.
Oh yeah,
and
right.
so we would go, in order to go to Berlin, and we would have to ride a train at night. So we'd take a train over there every year, and I would take these guys over to around. And a lot of these guys really appreciated that because they never got to go see Europe. And it also helped me and my family out, too, because we got to go everywhere, all up in London and Rome, Switzerland, Sweden, just all of them.
It's great if you can experience another culture. I think it just and for your kids to have being able to be raised experiencing,
which was good for them. They were brought up in all different kinds of culture. But a lot of these times, when he was doing the marriage and family, getting a degree there, I was back home. So, taking care of the house, and I was teaching then full time, and it was different.
Yeah. Yeah. So again, you have times when you're together, times when you're throughout. It seems like your whole marriage. There are times when you're not, and you're kind of like a single mom.
Right.
Yeah. Yeah. What was that like?
I had gotten used to doing things around the house. Everything, it was something I did, like I prepared the taxes. I just had gotten used to doing it, but I could identify with those people who never had a husband or a man around. But we would always be involved with decisions about the children, even though I was taking care of the house and doing everything else. He was always involved via phone, and talking to them, and he would come home every now and then. But we just kind of worked it together. The hardest part was knowing how I would feel when he finally retired and came back home for, the extended time and getting adjusted to, passing some of the authority on, because I had been used to taking care of everything.
Yes. Yeah. It's interesting because both of my sons are in the military. One's in the Marines and one's in the Navy. And my youngest, who's a Marine, is married. She was in the Marines also. She's not now, but they have been married. It was 2 years in November, and they're young, but more of their marriage has been spent apart than together, right? And so, I said, I'm asking her, how does that work? And it is an adjustment, even if it's only a matter of months, right? Because you're watching your own shows, you're eating your own food the way you want, so it's a real big adjustment. Yeah. And I can imagine with the kids, an adjustment for them too.
Well, yeah, because they had to not only listen to me, but then they got to listen to Dad.
Yeah.
And that was backed up. That's why I started with that picture, what I told you I was going to bring. I didn't have the wedding picture, but I had that picture because when I was stationed in Fort Gordon, Georgia, she sent that picture on Valentine's Day for me, and so that's when I started autographing it on the back.
So she sent you that picture while you were apart.
Yeah.
That's very sweet.
Yeah.
And so you were telling me this before we recorded, but so you've got this picture that every Valentine's you would indicate, is it a heart or a checkbox if you were together that year for Valentine's?
Right. because it started in '66, and I went up to 80-something, 1980. And for each Valentine Day, I would take that picture out and autograph it on the back.
Oh gosh.
Yeah.
Oh gosh. What a beautiful, beautiful love.
He has a caring attitude, and I've noticed as the years go, he's more patient, because initially in our relationship he was kind of impatient. Everything had to be on his time frame, but as we got together more, he develops patience for the way I am, because like he says, I'm a rule follower.
Me too. I feel
And
you.
I am almost to the fact, but I am getting better being obsessive, about things. And I love the fact that he just lets me. He said, okay, if that's the way you want. He just kind of accepts me
Yeah.
the way I am. So I appreciate that about him. And I love him. Just because of his personality, he laughs. We
yeah.
laugh a lot together. We just say and do silly things.
I can see that.
So that's what I love about him, his silliness.
and his accepting. You probably have to get to the airport 2 hours early like I do, right?
Well, yes, but now I've gotten him so he likes to do that. And when I get
See,
to the
we're right,
airport,
Willie.
I'm spraying things, and he just accepts it. He accepts me, and I think that's what it is. And I love the fact that he loves the grandchildren and he cares for other people so deeply.
So true. And again, I get to see y'all on a Sunday morning, which is, I'm pretty busy during that time. Y'all are just greeting. And I love to watch how you are with the people that come through the door, people that have been coming, week after week, year after year, people that are the first time, whatever it is. It's like you just greet them like you have just met your long lost friend, and to be able to come in to church on a Sunday morning, and that's what they get when they hit the door. It's like, it's going to be the best day ever, whatever happens from there. And I know, because my fear is always that someone's going to come for the first time, or someone's going to come and my worst fear is that, they wouldn't have been greeted, or they wouldn't felt welcome. And listen, I don't even have to worry about that. I got Dorothy and Willie at the door. One thing is for sure, they are going to enter the space feeling welcome. And that's just the beautiful part about you two. And I think the balance of the extrovert, introvert, I think that works. I don't see you as that introverted. I know you're quieter for sure, but you certainly are willing to. Some people are so introverted they would not stand at the door and say hello to strangers. So good for you. So y'all have 4 kids.
Yeah.
Yes.
3 girls and then 1 boy.
1 boy.
Okay.
And she's the reason for me having that many kids, because the second one we thought going to be a boy. And she said, I know you knew one boy, so we want to try one more time. And then the next one was a girl. And so I said, I give up. And so, but she encouraged me to try once more.
Well, I have 2 sons, and after the 2 sons, we're like, okay, well, we'll try one more time for a girl. And then I said, do we really want to be outnumbered here? Hold on a minute. So we stopped there. I'm like, hold on a minute.
did a good
now
thing.
look at this. Do we going to let these kids outnumber us? But so where are all your kids now? What's that, Dorothy?
We have 2 of them here. The oldest daughter is here, and our son is here, and then one is in New Orleans, and then one is in Texas.
Wow.
In Houston.
Wow.
So that's the route we decided to take. We stayed in Louisiana, where they were all, where we lived for 20-some years. And then we moved to Texas to be with those grandchildren.
Oh.
And then we decided the youngest ones were here. And so we moved here.
Smart. I hear, obviously, throughout your story, education is very important. You probably loved yesterday with, yesterday was the greatest anyway.
It was.
But to be able to celebrate the Bob and Marion Bell,
yes.
Education, and to understand how important. So I hear that in your story. This is a shared value you two also had.
And because when I listened to her story, and she said that her grandparent went to Tuskegee, and I thought about my grandmother was a product of the plantation and slavery, and she had 9 girls, and she sent all of them to college and was able to do well. And her story sounded so similar to my grandmother and my mother's story. That's why it was just so, I loved yesterday listening
Yeah.
It just took me back home to Louisiana.
Totally. So besides the shared value of education, which comes through and obviously the shared value of you're just both very hardworking people, what other shared values do you have and have you, throughout the years of marriage?
Like she said at first, I accept her for who she is, and she kind of do the same thing for me. I like to make people laugh. They don't
That's
know
important.
until they've been around me for a while. Then they find out what kind of person I am. And we collect a whole lot of friends like that.
Collect friends. I love that. You collect friends.
Right now, when she have a party, she have so many people she try to invite. I hike every Friday. I got a group that I hike with.
Awesome.
And they grew very close to us, too. And then we got a yoga class. We go to yoga twice a week.
Sweet.
Yeah. And so, and then I'm on Zoom. I do Bible study on Zoom every Wednesday. That's why I don't do Bible study here on Saturday, what I tell you. And that's why we don't come to Bible study here, because I be doing Zoom with my friends that I had in Houston.
That you lead that Bible study, or y'all do it together?
We do it together.
Awesome.
And
we rotate. I got it this week, matter of fact.
Good for you.
Yeah.
And I don't participate in it. It's usually my me time. But the things we share, we always like doing for others. We like serving others, and we always try to bring people closer together and to try to get people to see everyone as valuable. So that's the thing. We share those common values, and with helping, it just kind of
And you're definitely relational. Like it definitely shows that that's
try to do that.
I love that you said that you collect friends. That is very cool. I just got on the yoga train. It's new for I do it every morning now. I'm like, where have I been? Why was I so slow to figure this out? It's not a pretty picture when I do it. So
Me.
okay, but I'm getting there. So, a lot of people listening either are newly married or younger married. A lot of the podcast, people that listen to them are younger. And so what advice, 57 years of marriage? Let me get this right. 57 years of marriage. What advice do you have for the young couples? It's obviously a different time than when y'all got together, but still.
My training for marriage and family, I think it helps me out a whole lot. My CPE, clinical pathway education, that helped me out a lot. One time I was in Denver for a workshop, and back in the 70s, people did a lot of group work. Mm-hmm. And they asked me what was my anger, what was anger. And I remember telling them my education. I felt cheated because of the schools that I had gone to, and the community that I grew up in. People didn't speak good English and so forth. And so that became a part of me. And then when I went into the school was a post system. And then I had to struggle when I did go off to school. So I got 4 degrees, and I had to struggle with people. Some of the guys had been to Harvard, and some of the guys had been to West Point,
Yeah.
And that made it difficult for me. And I only been first one thing, and that's mean a lot to me there, I guess. But and that was the most physical fit person in my class of 100-some chaplains,
Oh, that's
I got the
awesome!
trophy,
You were number one. Well, I'm
and-
going to say that maybe you were first in love too, because you did pretty great here. So maybe you got a couple first.
So what I would tell young people, young married couples, the basic part of, I think, getting to this longevity of our marriage is being able to communicate, and also being able to communicate not so much with your head, but with your heart. And a lot of what helped us was the fact that he was into marriage and family counseling, and we were able to talk to each other. So being able to talk to each other, share your concerns, And also the biggest thing is being able to accept each other as for who they are. And like I said, this is how I think he accepts me for who I am with all my little quirks and things. He accepts me, and I accept him. And so the more you are together, it's almost like you can tell what that other person is about to say. Even in school, we had gotten close enough that I was able to say, well, this is what you're saying on this paper. Because we always did things together even then, and now we're doing more things together. But being able to accept a person for who they are and their background, regardless of where they have come from and regardless of their thoughts and actions, accept them, communicate with your heart and not your head. And that adds to longevity and in marriage. And I try to share that, or we try to share that with our children.
Yeah, and communication is, you cannot not communicate.
Yeah.
Because you communicating either way. You might as well to just be real with what you're feeling and discuss that, and to listen to what the other person's saying with your heart, not with your ears.
Yeah.
That communication is the key to getting along. And I use the example of a jar full of muddy water, and I'll hold that jar until it water sealed to the bottom, the mud sealed to the bottom, and you keep doing that until the jar get full. Then you don't have any room to communicate.
Yeah.
But if you shake it and then dump it, and then dump the water out and put clean water in, then you can communicate. And feelings are the same way. You get intoxicated with feelings, bad feelings, and then you don't have room for the good feelings that each other give to each other.
That's really true. You get bogged down in that. And I think you kind of said, Dorothy, I think, not communicating is communicating, right? So one way or another, you're communicating. And if that's by not communicating, that's not super effective.
That's not good.
And, obviously God has been at the center of your marriage. You started before you were married, like, hey, you okay with this? And so I think, man, it's hard to be married. And I cannot imagine without having God as a part of that, I just can't imagine. So I'm really glad that letter never got married. And I don't know if Mrs. Sunshine, what was her name? Mrs. Shine. if she like had a hand in that, or that was just the way it came out. And God, I cannot imagine the world without Dorothy and Willie. What would that be? So it would be a sad thing. So, well, I love your beautiful story. I thank you for the time. I told you, I think beforehand, that when I wanted to do this month of love, I just thought, man, I gotta have Dorothy and Willie here, because I just see so much love for each other. And because you have that love for each other, it just spills out. It just spills out to everyone, who comes in contact with you. So, so thank you so much for that. Thank you for the blessing of that. And, where you were talking about, you can kind of relate to Pastor David and Jerry and what it's like to be a pastor, to be a pastor's wife, to, raise your children. It's not an easy path.
It's
not an easy path. And, I thank you for taking that path and for your willingness, because I don't know, if I was 16 and dating some guy that said he was thinking about being a pastor, I would have been like, so far gone. gone. So good for you for that. And Willie, I asked beforehand, I said, we usually close our episodes in prayer. And I always ask people, would you like to pray? And that doesn't happen, but you said that you would. And so I would love that if you could close this in prayer, and just, again, thank you so much for your time together.
Most gracious and kind God, once again, you have granted us an opportunity to come together, this time with Julia. And we're just so appreciative of her and the ministry she does at this church. We pray your blessing to be upon her and on ourselves. We ask that you will lead, guide, teach, forgive, protect, and heal us in all ways that is needed when we tone down and build us up. This we pray in the name of our Lord and Savior Jesus Christ. Shall we all say amen?
Amen. Y'all, it is rainy outside the studio this morning, but it's nothing but sunshine inside. So thank you for bringing that. God bless.